They laughed as I walked into the family dinner wearing my old dress, the same one they used to mock in high school. My cousin snickered. "Ariana, you still shopping from thrift stores?" I smiled, even though my heart burned. None of them knew that the poor girl they pitied was actually signing their paychecks now. Before I tell you how I turned everything around, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Because trust me, this story will make you believe in silent revenge. My uncle raised his glass. "To success," he shouted. "Some of us made it big and some, well, are still figuring it out." His eyes slid toward me and everyone chuckled. I forced a small laugh, but my hands were trembling under the table. They thought I was the same helpless girl who begged for their help years ago. They didn't know that I owned the very company their fancy jobs depended on. "Still working at that little cafe?" My sister Lauren smirked. I nodded lightly. "Yeah, something like that." Inside, I was counting the minutes. In less than an hour, my company's quarterly report would go public, naming every employee, every department, and every executive position. And guess whose name would be at the top? Poor Ariana. Aunt Maggie sighed dramatically. "You were always such a dreamer. You should have married that rich boy from college instead of wasting time." The table erupted in laughter again. My jaw clenched. I'd built an empire while they partied and posted about fake luxuries. Tonight, they'd see the truth, and I wouldn't have to say a single word. As dessert arrived, Lauren's husband mentioned his new job. Got hired by a new tech startup. "Big deal in the city," he bragged. I tilted my head, hiding a smirk. "Really? What's the company's name?" He grinned proudly. "Atlas Systems." The CEO is apparently some mysterious woman. No one's seen her in person. I looked him straight in the eye and said softly, "Oh, I've heard of her." The whole table went quiet. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt powerful. What they didn't know was that the company they bragged about, the one they all worked for, was mine. And the revelation that was coming next would flip their world upside down. Lauren laughed, unaware of the storm she was about to walk into. "You've heard of her?" "Oh, please, Ariana. You don't even use LinkedIn properly," she mocked, sipping her wine. The others joined in, their laughter echoing through the room like it always did when I was their punchline. I smiled faintly. "You're right, Lauren. I'm terrible at social media." Inside, I was thinking, but I'm great at running the company that signs your checks. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. A notification popped up. Atlas Systems quarterly report released. CEO Ariana Cole. My heart raced. It was happening. The world was about to know, and so were they. Uncle Jim leaned forward. "So, Ariana, what exactly do you do these days? Still serving coffee or babysitting someone's kids?" The room chuckled again. I took a deep breath and said, "Something like that." "Just a small side project," Lauren rolled her eyes. "Always with the side projects. You'll never grow up." Seconds later, her husband's phone vibrated. Then my uncle's, then my aunt's. Notifications went off around the table one by one. Confused expressions spread across their faces as they all checked their screens. Lauren frowned. "Wait, this says the CEO of Atlas Systems is—" She froze mid-sentence. Everyone turned to me. I met their stunned faces calmly. "Oh, don't stop now. Go ahead, say it," her voice cracked. "Ariana Cole?" Silence filled the room. The laughter, the smug smiles, and gone. Only the sound of forks clinking against plates remained. I leaned back in my chair, my voice steady. "Remember when you all said I'd never make it? That I was too poor, too naive, too soft? Well, turns out I'm the mysterious woman who's been paying your bills." Uncle Jim stammered. You own Atlas?" I nodded. "Every single share." The color drained from their faces. Even Lauren, who once told me I'd end up living in a trailer, looked like she'd seen a ghost. But I wasn't done. I hadn't revealed the part that would change everything. The reason? They were all about to regret mocking me for years, because what they didn't know was that I had a choice to make that night, one that could either destroy their livelihoods or change their lives forever, and I had already made my decision. The silence at the table was heavy, so thick you could hear the air hum with panic. Lauren's husband was the first to break it. "Wait, this can't be real. You mean you're our boss?" His voice shook, and he looked as if he wanted to disappear. I rested my elbows on the table and smiled faintly. "Technically, yes. You, Aunt Maggie, Uncle Jim, even Lauren. Atlas owns the companies you all work for. So in a way, you've been working for me this whole time." Aunt Maggie's jaw dropped. "This is insane. You? The girl who begged us for gas money a few years ago?" I nodded slowly. "The same one. I just stopped begging and started building." Lauren slammed her wine glass down, her tone turning sharp. "You're lying. There's no way you did this. You couldn't even afford a laptop." I leaned forward, my voice soft but firm. "You're right. I couldn't back then. But when you all mocked me for losing my job, I used that as fuel. I took a free online course, started freelancing, saved every cent, and built an app that companies couldn't operate without. And when investors came knocking, I stopped answering their calls and built Atlas on my own terms." Her face went pale. Then Uncle Jim tried to laugh it off. "Well, sweetheart, good for you. But we didn't mean any harm. We were just joking." I met his eyes coldly. "No, you were reminding me of where you thought I belonged." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then my phone buzzed again. It was my assistant texting. "Everything's ready for your announcement. Should we proceed?" I typed back one word. "Yes." Seconds later, the big screen TV in the dining room lit up with the live broadcast of Atlas Systems' press conference. My face appeared on screen, standing behind the company logo. Lauren gasped. "Oh my God, that's you." Reporters' voices filled the room. "Ariana Cole, the self-made CEO of Atlas Systems, is now one of the youngest billionaires in America." Their eyes darted between me and the TV. My mother, who had stayed quiet the entire time, whispered, "Ariana, why didn't you ever tell us?" I looked at her gently. "Because you never asked how I was doing, you only asked how much I was earning." The truth hit like lightning. But the biggest twist was still to come. Because the announcement wasn't just about my success. It was about a decision that would change every person sitting at that table. The press conference continued playing behind me, reporters firing questions as my pre-recorded answers filled the room with words that now carried weight: respect, power, independence. But my family wasn't paying attention to the broadcast. Their eyes were locked on me, like they were seeing me for the very first time. Lauren's husband cleared his throat nervously. "So, what happens now? You're not planning to, fire us or anything, right?" I tilted my head, pretending to think. "That depends," I said softly. "Do you remember the day I came to you for help? When my rent was overdue and I needed a small loan?" He swallowed hard. "Ariana, that was years ago." "Exactly," I interrupted. "And you told me people like you should learn their place." He froze. Lauren shot him a glare, but she was shaking too. "Come on, Ariana. You can't hold on to old grudges. We're family." I let out a small, bitter laugh. Funny how the word family only shows up when you need something. The room fell silent again. Then my assistant, Mia, walked into the restaurant. Her presence was calm but commanding. "Miss Cole," she said with a professional smile, "the paperwork is ready if you want to proceed." Everyone turned to look at her, confused. "Paperwork?" Aunt Maggie asked. I stood up slowly, sliding the contract folder across the table. "Atlas Systems just acquired your company, Maggie. Starting next week, we're restructuring the staff." She blinked rapidly. You mean?" "Yes," I said quietly. "You'll report directly to me now." Her mouth fell open. Uncle Jim looked like he'd been punched. Lauren's husband slumped back in his chair, muttering something under his breath. Lauren's voice trembled. "You can't do this." "You can't just—" "Oh, but I can," I said, cutting her off. "I built Atlas from nothing. I stayed silent when you all mocked me, when you laughed at my clothes, when you said no man would ever want me. You thought silence meant weakness, but silence is where power grows." I looked each of them in the eye. "You all thought money made you untouchable. I learned the truth. The real power is in patience. My mother whispered softly, Ariana, please. Don't humiliate them. They're still family. I paused. For a second, I felt the weight of her words. Revenge had brought me satisfaction, but was it the kind of legacy I wanted to build? I turned toward Mia. Hold the restructuring for now. There's something else I want to announce first. Mia nodded and handed me the microphone from the press table. The cameras were still rolling, broadcasting live to thousands of viewers. I faced the screen and said, For years, people told me I wasn't enough. Too poor, too quiet, too ordinary. But tonight, I want to say this. Success doesn't need validation. It needs persistence. And forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom. I looked back at my family, tears threatening to escape, though I fought them back. So instead of firing you, I'm offering something different. Growth. Every one of you will get a chance to prove yourselves, not to me, but to yourselves. Lauren's lip quivered. You're forgiving us? I smiled faintly. No, I'm just done carrying the weight of your words. There was a long silence. Then my mother stood up and hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, baby, she whispered. For the first time in years, I believed her. As the press broadcast ended, I turned to the window and watched the city lights flicker across the glass. The girl they called poor had become the woman who controlled their future, and she chose mercy over destruction. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't the end. Because success may silence the noise, but family? Family always finds a way to test your peace, and I could already feel the next storm brewing. A week later, I thought the storm had passed. The office buzzed with life, Atlas stock was climbing, and for the first time in years, I slept without anxiety. But peace has a strange way of attracting jealousy. It started small. Rumors, whispers in the office corridors. Then my assistant, Mia, walked into my office one morning, her expression uneasy. Ariana, someone's leaking internal data. Financial reports, client lists. It's bad. My heart dropped. Who? She hesitated before sliding a file onto my desk. My stomach twisted as I opened it. The IP addresses traced back to one employee. My sister, Lauren. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. After everything, the forgiveness, the second chance, she still wanted to hurt me. I called her to the office immediately. When she walked in, her confident smirk was gone. I guess you already know, she muttered, avoiding eye contact. I stood, staring at her. Why, Lauren? After everything I did to give you a chance, why would you do this? Tears welled up in her eyes, but her voice was cold. Because I can't stand watching you win, Ariana. You were supposed to be the failure. You were supposed to be the example of what not to become. And now you're the one everyone looks up to. I hate it. Her words cut deep, but they didn't break me. I took a deep breath and said quietly, You just proved why you'll never understand real success. It's not about power. It's about peace. She looked confused. What are you going to do? Fire me? Ruin me? I shook my head. No, that's what you'd do. I'm not you. I turned to Mia. Send the evidence to legal. Terminate her contract, but make sure she gets a full severance package. She can start over far from here. Lauren's eyes widened. You're letting me go? Just like that, I nodded. Yes, because revenge might feel good, but closure feels better. She broke down crying as she left, whispering, I never thought you'd actually forgive me. After she was gone, I walked to the office window. The skyline shimmered with morning light, reflecting the same city that once crushed me. But this time, I wasn't just surviving, I was leading. Later that evening, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was soft, filled with pride. Ariana, you turned all that pain into purpose. I just wanted to say, I see you now. I smiled through quiet tears. That's all I ever wanted, Mom. The next day, headlines read, Atlas CEO Ariana Cole shuts down leaks with grace, a true definition of power and poise. And for the first time, the world didn't see the poor girl, the outcast, or the family disappointment. They saw the woman who built an empire from ashes, and still had the heart to forgive, because sometimes the loudest revenge is rising so high that even those who tried to break you have no choice but to look up.